Hi everyone, welcome to Module 1. So in this module, we're going to go over the setup to get you up and running in Stockpilot. Keep in mind these instructional tutorials will be setting up a bakery. So to start, and to access your setup, click the menu button on the top right corner and click on Settings. On the side panel, click Configuration. In this panel, you can adjust some of the variables that Stockpilot uses to alert you about items that are close to or already over your safety stock level. The first one is the setup cost. This is basically the cost you incur every time you place and receive an order, independent of the order size. Next, you'll see your annual storage cost. This can be either your warehouse cost or a percentage of gross revenue. However, the value must always be entered here as a percentage. And lastly, the service level percentage. This value represents the probability that your inventory will satisfy demand. So next you can set up an alternate currency in Stockpilot. The default is in US dollars, but you can specify any other by entering its code and the exchange rate. You see that here. We're actually using the Mexican peso as the default currency with an exchange rate of 19 pesos per dollar. So once you click out of this panel, your settings will automatically be saved. And so now that the basic setup is done, we can go ahead and start creating SKU items from our inventory. So to start, click the inventory icon to access your inventory. And as expected, you'll see there's nothing in there. And to start adding these items, right click on the screen and click Add SKU at the bottom right. Okay, so once here, give your SKU a unique code, a name, and a description. Make sure the SKU code is unique across all of your SKU items. And also, if you use a barcode scanner, you can scan that here as well. Keep in mind you need to select a family, which is basically a logical grouping of SKUs. So to create a family, bring up the toolbar and click Add Family. Give your family that name and click Save. We'll also do the same for the supplier. Okay, so next we need to enter the standard cost and the currency. So in our case, we're using $5 and our currency is in Mexican pesos. And lastly, we need to enter the lead time. So this is another key value to help determine the right time to place an order. And once you're done that, click Save. Okay, so keep in mind also here you have a units drop-down menu. So it's important to note here that your units are the unit in which you purchase or acquire your SKU. So in our case, we're using a brioche bun, and the units in which we purchase our buns are units or buns themselves. But this could be anything from, like, example would be eggs in dozen, or liters for milk, or kilos for flour, etc. So if we go back to the inventory screen, we should see the items we just added there. And there they are, your brioche buns. So now you probably don't want to have to do this, obviously, for hundreds of SKUs. And fortunately, Stockpilot allows you to bulk import your existing SKUs. And let me show you how to do that here. So on the screen, you'll see a spreadsheet. It's important here to note that our columns are SKU code, name, description, family, standard cost, currency inventory, current inventory, supplier, unit, and lead time. Just keep in mind that you have to stick to the column structure. So you're probably thinking you don't want to have to do this for hundreds of SKUs. And fortunately, Stockpilot allows you to bulk import your existing SKUs. And let me show you how to do that on the screen. So you'll need to create a spreadsheet like this one. Keep in mind that all the templates that we'll show you here will be available for download. The first one here is your inventory spreadsheet. So The important thing to note here is that the column structure is required, so you have to follow the codes as you see them. Okay, so in reality, you'll have potentially hundreds of SKUs, and you don't want to have to import them individually. So fortunately, Stockpilot allows you. So in reality, you will potentially have hundreds of SKUs, and you don't want to have to enter each one of them manually. So fortunately, Stockpilot allows you to bulk import your existing SKUs, and we'll show you how to do that here. So you'll need to create a spreadsheet like this one. We'll have these available to download in a link at the end of the tutorial. So the important thing to note here is that you just need to follow the column structure. So you'll see that the titles of each columns correspond to the options available in the inventory tab. So once you enter all your information, you can save your spreadsheet in Excel as a CSV file. And to do that, just click on Save As and select CSV as the format. So, and now open your file in a text editor and ensure that the field separator is a semicolon and not a comma. So some computers can potentially save with a comma, in which case it will be invalid. So to test that, just open your file, and in the case that you do have semicolons, you want to go to the top, click on Edit, and replace comma with semicolon. Also, just keep in mind, avoid using any special characters like accents. Okay, so once you've done that, go back to the configuration settings in Stockpilot and load that file into the item master field. If the file is created correctly, you'll get a notification, which you'll see on the screen in a minute. Okay, that's it there. So Stockpilot also allows you to configure bill of materials within your SKUs. So for example, if we want to indicate that our brioche buns consist of other SKUs in our inventory, we would select the SKU, click the Add Raw Material button, and drag that item that we use to bake our buns. Then we can specify how much of each SKU we use to bake it. And then we can specify how much of each SKU we use to bake it. So click Save, and now you see. Okay, so once you're done that, go back to the configuration settings in Stockpilot and load that file into the item master field. If the file is created correctly, you will get a notification once done. And there you go. Okay, so once you've completed that, go back to the configuration settings in Stockpilot and load the file into the master field. So if the file is loaded correctly and created correctly, you will get a notification. There you go. Also, Stockpilot allows you to configure bill of materials within your SKUs. So for example, if we want to indicate that our brioche buns consist of other SKUs in our inventory, we would select the SKU, click the Add Raw Material button, and drag the items that we use to bake our buns. So for example, flour, salt, and let's say butter. Then we specify how much of each SKU we use to bake it. And then we just click Save, and now you can see that the SKU's cost depends on its child SKU quantities. Okay, now you can also bulk import bill of materials using the same method that we showed you before. It's a different template, but again, follow the same column structure. And once you've completed this one, save it also as a CSV file and load it into the bill of materials field. So you can also bulk import bill of materials using the same method we showed you before. A different template, but again, follow the same column structure. So you'll see we have the first column, parent SKU. Then we have your child SKU being your materials. And lastly, the quantity of each material. So once you filled all this out, save it as a CSV file again and load it into the bill of materials field. And I'll show you that. And then again, you'll get a notification. And that's it. So congratulations, Stockpilot is now configured and your inventory is loaded. And see you next time. And we'll be showing you how to explore the order section and learn how to place and track orders.